Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mandy, for those of you who don't know, and it is Monday, and it is time to talk about what I read last week. And I'm going to talk about what I read, what I'm currently reading, and what I might be reading too this week. I'm not sure because sometimes I don't get to the things that I want to read because it just doesn't feel right or whatever. It's just I'm kind of a mood reader, but I'm trying to incorporate certain things. Like I am trying to at least read 1 to 2 LGBTQ plus books a week during Pride. I try to read like 1 a month normally, but I'm trying to read a little bit more. And then I'm also trying to read at least 1 physical book and read from my library of books that I already have, which I did not do so great last week. That's okay. I got a new Kindle, and you can check out my channel. I can leave the link below, but I do talk about opening it up and comparing it to my last one. My new case should be here today, thank goodness, because I threw this in my bag already and it already has some cleaning that I need to do, but I'm loving it. It is fantastic. This is the newest version of their paperweight, Paperwhite, not paperweight, Paperwhite Kindle, and I'm loving it. I love it at night when I'm reading because the screen turns yellow, and that is fantastic. So I've been doing a lot of reading on my Kindle, which I'm okay with since I just got a new one. But I do want to get a couple of my smaller physical books in this week. So what I read last week, let's go. Okay, so first one was a book called A Place for Us by Brandon J. Wolfe. And this one was hard. Like, it was an Amazon's first reads, and I read the description. I was like, I read the descriptions of all of them, and I thought, okay, this is the one I've got to pick up. This was a memoir of Brandon J. Wolfe, who was a Pulse nightclub survivor. And his story starts even before that because he is half Black and he's gay. And it talks about his struggles in life. The title is called A Place for Us, trying to find a safe space. And the safe space, like how his safe spaces, like Pulse nightclub, were taken away from him in incredibly violent ways. And it has a sense of hope, but it's a really hard read. I found myself crying and just left desolate. And I don't know how somebody can go through so much and still get up every day. And I mean, I've gone through stuff too. So it's like one of those things where but I'm not comparing my struggles to his struggles because they're so different and I could never even imagine. But like the fact that he not only gets up, but he's an advocate and he works hard to change things. Like he's living in Florida still now, trying to politically change things, which is amazing. So I just definitely think that this one needs to be on everybody's list to read. He writes so beautifully. I was highlighting every page, and I don't want to give anything away because his story is so powerful. If you you go in knowing he's a Pulse nightclub survivor, and I mean, we all know what happened there, and beautiful. Like his story, his whole story. I loved it. It might be, it's so hard because I feel like it's gonna end up in the top 10 of my books this year, but it's so hard at 6 months in to figure that out. But it's definitely a good one. So that one, highly recommend. But after that one, and another one I read later, like last week, I needed just to let my brain simmer and feel that. But I also was super depressed last week. So I read and listened to a lot of books. And the next one that I read was Love, Comment, Subscribe by Kathy Yardley. And this one was kind of like a frenemies to lovers romance. I have been getting into like silly romances a little bit more lately, and the characters were interesting, and they had an Asian kind of descent, and so you get a different point of view. I think Kathy Yardley is part Asian, so she writes from her experience in such a good way. But these two are YouTube influencers, which is a lot of fun. Hi, YouTube. And they were friends in high school, but they weren't friends. They were in the same friend group, and the one girl, the main girl, wanted to fit in so bad. And I connected with that, because you're into these nerdy things and you think like, oh man, my friends are only my friends because we're into these nerdy things, and you really want to fit in, because fitting in high school is so important, and sometimes that, you know, continues on. And so this book kind of hit me in the feels in some ways, and it was just a fun book. I think I gave it about 3.5 stars. Like, there were just some things, like some of the romance parts were cringe, and the, you know, what was it? What would they call it? The third act breakup. The third act breakup was a lot of miscommunication, and I think if miscommunication isn't I struggle with miscommunication as being the conflict. So that one I read. Then I read another one by Kathy Yardley that was called Role Playing, and this one comes out July 1st. I got it through Amazon First Reads again, and this one was about an older couple who are living in a small town, and they get together in a guild online, kind of like World of Warcraft-esque, and I just liked it. I liked it a lot because there was representation. There was ace representation. There was bisexual representation. Like, there was so much representation in this book that I really enjoyed it. The main character was a sassy old woman who was, 50, so she's not old, but older woman. Like, not a lot of romances are like 20, 25, like young. And I'm not young anymore. I'm middle-aged, or like early middle-aged myself. So as an early middle-aged person, to be able to have a romance where, oh, like if life happens in my future, you know, divorce, I don't think I'm going to ever get divorced, but you know, you never know. So it's like one of those things to see the representation, and then have the representation of not only that, but like asexual, demisexual, figuring out your sexualities. Because as an adult, we sometimes do, because we don't know when we're younger, like things just don't pop up. And so I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the nerd representation. I'm a nerd, obviously. Can't see back here. Yeah, my kids are nerds because of me and my husband. And my husband and I actually connected on nerdness. And our friends are all nerds. We're all nerds. So it was great to read a romance that was something different. And I think that's my thing is if I'm going to pick up a romance, it needs to be something different. I don't want the like little blonde chick. I know I'm blonde, you know, but like, it's like, I don't want the little blonde chick with blue eyes and the guy has ripped abs and he's so hot. Like, it's just like 20 years old. It's not what I'm into. I didn't think it wasn't even what I was into when I read romance. My favorite romance author is Jennifer Cruzy, and she wrote some really great ones way back when. So yeah, that one. And then this one. This is my next book for the month, or for the week. I read The Animators by Kayla Ray Whitaker. This one was recommended on Priscilla, the Evening Reader's top 10 books that of all time. And she was talking about how it was about animators, these two female animators that go off on their own. And she said it was about friendship. But whoa, like that's all she said about it. And I was like, okay, animation, I'm here. Like, you know, art, boohoo, yes, let's go. And what I got, I don't know how I feel. It's definitely a 5-star book. The description of art and being a creative was phenomenal. Like the way that they described even just getting a Cintiq it's a tablet, and this is just random. This is just a little random thing that's not gonna give anything away of the actual novel itself, but they described the excitement of getting a Cintiq tablet, and Cintiqs are kind of like an iPad, but like to draw on, and it revolutionized things if you're not aware, but it's by Wacom, and all the big companies use them. And so for them to talk about how excited they were because it was gonna like streamline their process, it was just little things like that were a lot of fun. But this was about two women who were friends, who became friends in the strangest of ways, and they were so flawed. They had all this past trauma. They had all these things in life, and they used their trauma in their work. And the two movies that they focused on in the animated series or movies that they focused on for them were their traumas, that they were using their traumas, and just looking at using your trauma in a creative outlet, because I know that a lot of us artists do that. And just how it affects people and their substance use, because I mean, these girls, in a way, they were just trying to navigate life, but they were dealing with a lot of like trauma, and they should have gotten professional help rather than getting the help of stimulants and drugs and things. But that's not what always happens, especially since this was written a few years ago, and it was about early 2010s. I mean, before that, I think it was the one thing that I struggled with, was trying to figure out how old they were. I was like, when were they born? What year were they born? They had to have been born in the early 80s, maybe 70s, these girls. I think they were going to college, early 2000s. I mean, so it's just trying to figure it out, because I was trying to figure out where they were in the spectrum of how the world of animation was going. But I think animation was a backdrop, and it didn't matter as much, but it was such a beautiful way to look at friendship and love. And like, there were times, like I even said to Priscilla, I was like, I'm 40% into this book and I hate Mel. I just hate her. She was so pushy to Sharon and things like that. I just hated her. But then like by the end of the book, I was like, oh, I love Mel. So it's like, they are such flawed, beautiful characters. And I think there was something, it was a beautiful book, and I could talk about it a lot. And so I think it's one that I never heard of. I think it was published in 2018, 2017, something around there. And it's fantastic if you can get your hand on it. I got this from my library on the Kindle, and I have since purchased a copy for my shelf so I can go through and highlight some of those passages, because there's just some beautiful, beautiful language. So yeah, but that one was a heavy book with dealing with all the trauma and things. So then for the last part of the week, I read two in my favorite, like one of my favorite like pick-me-up series, which is the Vampire Knitting Club. And I read 11 and 12, Diamonds and Daggers, and Herringbones and Hexes. And these ones by Nancy Warren are just like these little cozy mysteries that have vampires and have witches and have silly little things. And then in Diamonds and Daggers, one of the vampires' necklaces and like Cartier, exclusively made for her in a silent movie, go missing. And so it's a lot of drama dealing with the vampires and the human and the witch, and just kind of that. And it didn't have a murder until like 60% in the book. And the same thing with Herringbones and Hexes, where the murders have happened way earlier in these books. But then there's just so much, these ones, I felt like we got to know the vampires even more, and we got background into them, and we got character and big arcs of the story moving. And then there's only 2 left in this series so far, and I don't know when the next one, if there is going to be a 15th, will be published. However, Nancy Warren has a lot of other series, so she's got like the Great Witchy Bake Off or something like that. So I will be reading those 2. I listen to them by audio, and the narrator, Sarah Zimmerman, fantastic. She's fantastic. She does voices and things. And it's easy listening. And then they're all Kindle Unlimited. So when I want to read the book at night, I read the book at night. But that is what I will pick up I used to listen to them a lot when I was sewing a lot, but that is what I will pick up when I need a little bit of a break, because I don't have to completely listen. I don't have to completely listen to them. Like, if you miss a few things, it's kind of like a soap opera. If you miss a few things, you're good. And so I've been able to reflect on A Place for Us and the animators with these kind of like fluff. And I loved the fluff. The fluff was great. Everything was 4 or 5 stars. The 2 5-stars were my heavy books that I definitely think are going to have an impact on my life. I'm going to want to reread them. With the Vampire Knitting Club, I would probably go back and reread the whole series just because I enjoy it, but it's not substantial. Like they're so light, and like Nancy Warren does that on purpose. The romance in it is very closed doors, like peck kiss, like nothing like that, like, so they're very, very simple. And the love, comment, subscribe, and role playing both had open door scenes, and I just didn't care. I don't care either way, but the role playing, that was why I gave it 4, was because I wasn't sure about the open door, or like I wasn't sure about the scene at all. I think with the representation, it would have been better without the intimate scenes. Anyway, so those are the books that I read. 6 books. I cannot believe that I read 6 books in a week. It's been a long time since I've done that, since I was working full-time sewing, because I would listen to 4 or 5 audiobooks a week. And so this is just very different, but I wasn't really sewing. I got down to my sewing office once this last week. So yeah, that is those. And then, so what am I reading right now? I am reading, if you can see it, I'm reading Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I have never picked up a Brandon Sanderson before, and this one was pitched in multiple places as Brandon Sanderson was writing out of his genre for his wife, a kind of retelling of The Princess Bride. I love The Princess Bride. So this one is a lot of fun so far. A lot of like breaking the fourth wall and having like silly little anecdotes on the side. So like a lot of the reviews from what I've seen aren't because the story's not great, but it's because of the sides, and I love them. They're just silly, and that's what The Princess Bride did too. I mean, you had the grandfather reading to the kid so it's quite nice that the narrator interacts with you, and I never thought I would enjoy that in a book, but I'm really enjoying it. So this one is that Tress, and she had a different name, I forgot her name, but Tress lives in this really weird land that is green, and there are deadly spores, and she's in love with this prince who goes missing. And that's about where I'm at. Like, I'm not very far into it. He goes missing, and she's gonna go find him and rescue him, because why not? Like, have the heroine rescue the prince, which is fantastic. So I'm excited about it. I'm enjoying it. It's just like, again, I'm trying to like break up my heavy with my happy and get a little bit, because I think I was getting burnt out by all the dark. And so then, like, my heavy this week is finishing up Chrysopeia by Christine Stewart Nunez, who was a professor of mine. And these are her essays. I love them. They're her essays. They're creative nonfiction. Some of them were in our classes that I had with her in college. I recognize bones of them because she has worked so diligently to fold these all together and make them just beautiful. This is 100 pages. It's very short, but if you like memoir that's not like that's more creative and just little tiny essays, I can't recommend Christine more. She's really paving a way in the genre that's different, and they're like the little things that I'm seeing in here, just the little pieces. I'm like, oh, it's just a little peek behind somebody's life, but in a way that's very very intimate, but in a beautiful way, and something that can be said, and I think related to a lot of people. So this one is great, and I think it is published by Stephen Austin State University Press. You can get it on Amazon. So I know she'd appreciate it, but oh man, love it. And so those are the two that I'm reading right now. I've been reading Chrysopoeia for a few months, and so I read an essay or two and just like sit on it because there's just a lot to be said. And then I want to read Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. I have that on audio from my library. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio is another one that I have from my library. And then those are two audiobooks. And so I'll probably get at least one of them in. And if I'm not feeling them, they won't be on next week's like I read or currently reading, just because it's what happens. I've been kind of like accepting that sometimes I'm gonna have DNFs, and it's okay to not finish a book. Even if you only got 10% into it, it's okay. Or even if you got 60% into it, it's okay. My next one that I want to read this week is a small one. I think it's like 200 pages and 190 something. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I have no idea what this book is about. I don't want to know what it's about. I want to go into it knowing nothing, but it was one of my friend's favorite books of the year so far. It was recommended on the Currently Reading podcast, and it looks so cool. Like the cover, and this is a trilogy. I've heard that if you read the first one, you're going to want to run out and pick up the next two. So I will probably pick up the next two if I like this one. I have had it on my shelf and it just keeps staring at me. It's been on my list for like 3 months. So we're going to do it this week. Annihilation. Yeah. And then my last book that I want to read for the week is Mrs. Caliban by Rachel Ingalls. And I have no idea again what this one is about. And I want to go into it knowing nothing because it is a novella. It is only 100 pages. This one was pitched in the Currently Reading podcast indie press list from Parnassus Books. And they were like, if you like Comfort Me with Apples, you will like this. And I loved Comfort Me with Apples last year. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in here expecting Comfort Me with Apples. This is really a weird cover. I don't know about that. Like the eyes kind of creep me out. But I'm excited to read this. These two, I don't know, they feel like the green covers go together. So maybe I'll read one after another. But yeah, so that is what I plan on reading. Who knows? I have so many books that pop up from the library. I have so many books on my Kindle. I'm just kind of rolling with it because it's summer and I am doing a lot of reading because, hi, summer. I can get a lot of reading done. So anyway, that's about it for today. Thank you so much for stopping. Thank you so much for sitting through this. Let me know what you're reading. Is there anything that I have read that you have read? And I would love to hear similar opinions, spicy opinions. Let me know down in the comments because let's chat about books because books are great. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Bye.